best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete.
And I am Jason Hondo Ling.
And we are back with a brand new episode of Star Wars. We will be reviewing the season finale. This is the season 3 finale, which is the last season of The Bad Batch. It is episode 15. The Cavalry Has Arrived. But before we dive into that episode, we've got a very special mention. One of our top listeners, Mr. Ian Slater, it was his birthday yesterday, which was May the 4th. We are recording this on May the 5th, obviously Revenge of the 5th. But yes, it was Ian Slater's birthday on May the 4th, and we just want to wish him a very happy birthday from myself, from Kat, from Ian, who obviously on the episode this week. Obviously, I know you probably want to wish him a happy birthday as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Happy birthday, young fella.
Indeed. Happy birthday. You know, he doesn't look a day over 25 when you look at his pictures, especially when he's rocking that guitar, playing some Fleetwood Mac. So, yep, happy birthday, Ian. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being an all-around good guy, and we hope you've had a fantastic Star Wars weekend.
Yeah, could have said it better, Pete.
Moving on into what we're talking about today. We probably will talk some May the 4th and Star Wars shenanigans that's gone on over the weekend at the end. But the bread and butter of this episode, as I said, is deep dive reviewing the season and the series finale of The Bad Batch. It is episode 15. It is The Cavalry Has Arrived. It did air on May the 1st. If you have not watched The Bad Batch yet, or the last episode of The Bad Batch yet, pause the podcast now, go watch it, go stream it on Disney Plus where it's available now, and then come back and listen to us talk about it. Otherwise, you know, we are going to get sweaty about it. We're going to deep dive review it. It's going to talk a lot of details and it will be spoiled for you. So make sure you do that. But that's a big enough warning from us. So let's sort of dive straight in. We are indeed talking about The Cavalry Has Arrived, the finale. As I said, it aired on May the 1st. I'm going to give a brief rundown of the episode and then we'll get into our thoughts. So as we left off on the previous episode, Flash Strike, you know, Omega sort of has a plan of how she's going to get the other children out of captivity and out of the vault. This episode starts and the children escape and they free the Zero Beast that was seen in the previous episode. The Zero Beast goes on a rampage through the facility, which is pretty wild. Hunan, Rekka, and Crosshair infiltrate the base, but they're captured by Hemlock's CX operatives. And these CX clones seem to be, I thought, almost like carbon copies of the Bad Batch almost, with some of the attributes that were shown, which was quite interesting. While that's happening, Echo and Omega free Nala Se and Rampart and the other clone prisoners, while Dr. Amiri Carr takes the other children to safety. Nala Se goes to destroy the facility's data to protect Omega and prevent the Empire from using her research. Rampart follows her, and he plans to kill and steal the research to use it as leverage against the Empire. And he shoots Nala Se, but what he doesn't realize is that Nala Se does have a thermal detonator type grenade weapon, which she activates. And, you know, she knows that he's probably going to kill her, but she knows that either way, she'll drop that grenade and her job will be done, which I thought was really, really brave of Nala Se. But yeah, Nala Se uses the grenade to destroy the data, all the research, and it also kills Rampart. Slimy till the end there, showed his true colours and he got his comeuppance. Hemlock attempts to convert Hunter, Rekka, and Crosshair into operatives, again, sort of using this sort of the CX operative conditioning torture / program that he's got. But Echo and Omega and other clones come just in the nick of time, cause a distraction, and they're able to free the gang and defeat the existing operatives. Hemlock ends up taking Omega hostage and trying to escape with her. and they end up at the very top of sort of Mount Tantus, where they're going across a gangway to a ship so they can escape. But Crosshair and Hunter are in a pursuit. And obviously Omega's a big part of helping Hunter and Crosshair kill Hemlock. And they're able to escape. All the Bad Batch are able to escape to Pabu. We also then see the Empire arrive at the wreckage that's left in the wake of this whole thing that's happened. And Tarkin ends up shutting down Tantus and diverts its funding to Project Stardust, which is, of course, the Death Star project. We see Miri Kar again. She decides to join Echo and help other clones, while Omega and the Bad Batch remain on Pabu to sort of rest up. They've fought a lot of wars. There've been a lot of missions. They've been through a lot. They've lost tech. They've lost friends and family. And they're here just to sort of to heal, should we say, from the trauma of what's gone on throughout the Clone War and through these 3 seasons of the Bad Batch, I suppose. And then we're greeted with years later, an adult Omega ends up leaving Pabu and Hunter to join the rebellion against the Empire as a pilot. So quite a lot to digest there, but I think let's just start off with the episode. We knew this was the finale of the season. We knew this was the finale of the whole series. And then sort of Lucasfilm Animation set us up with that, the different type of introduction, where we've sort of got no music. The logo was very much, I think it was grey. We didn't get the usual colours. So just talk us through when you sat down to watch this episode, Jason, your thoughts and your, was there anxiety there, that this is the end? And then obviously, how did it deliver in those opening moments for you?
Yeah, I have to admit, I went into this episode a little bit, worried about how this was going to go, because I felt there were so many threads that needed to be woven together, sort of thing. That it was how are they going to do this? As you know, and I say it a lot. I'm a huge fan of the animated stuff and of Filoni's work. And these characters have grown on me. This season in particular, I think, has been absolutely amazing. It's been an animated series, very different to what we've been used to in the past. So I was really impressed when I found out that it was going to be a 50-minute episode, because I don't think they could have done it in half an hour. And then when I sat down to watch the episode, I was still nervous about what was going to happen. But I have to admit, the whole episode, for me, drew the stories to the characters to a satisfactory resolution in this timeline, but left me wanting to still find out a little bit more about some of the characters. The one thing I'm really glad that they didn't do, and I know a lot of people loved the character of Tech and wanted him to somehow come back, but I think it lent a real impact to the series that we lost one of the Bad Batch, midway through almost, and had to deal with the grief of losing Tech, and that loss was finite. Whereas obviously Star Wars in the past has had a habit of bringing people back and resurrecting, and I'm glad they didn't do that with Tech. But I did like it at the end, the nice little nod that as Omega lifted off, there was Tech's glasses still in place where they were held, so his memory lived on even all that time on. So for me, yeah, as the episode progressed, more and more satisfaction set in.
Yeah, I think for me, I thought this episode was jam packed, full of action, adventure, full of threat and dread. I think that there's times throughout the episode where the Bad Batch have the upper hand, and there's times where they don't. And sort of as the episode's running, you're sort of aware that the run time's running out, and is there enough time here for the Bad Batch to pull this out the bag? Which I thought was really, really well done. Very well paced episode, I thought, and definitely took advantage of being an extended 50-minute episode rather than the half an hour. And I think if you talk about what we've all been talking about and speculating about going into sort of the back end of the season and certainly the finale, as you've said there, is Tech still alive? Is Tech one of these CX clones? Actually, no, he's not. Like, we're not going to do that. And I think you hit the nail on the head, perfect, Jason, when you said, that that helps with the trauma that the Bad Batch have been through in losing Tech, in the mourning period and dealing with that trauma. I think has affected them, and it's a huge part of their story, and their come out and the sort of their togetherness. So I'm glad that was left. I think I was talking about, will we see Omega use the Force in this episode to save people, sort of in a heightened state of sort of stress situation? And no, they didn't. In fact, and I'm glad they didn't, because Omega was able to use the training that she'd received from the Bad Batch and from Tech. He's the one who taught her to fly. He's the one who's made her memorize all the different clone plans that the Bad Batch use, which all came in handy throughout the season, and in particular in this finale episode. So I was glad that they kept those things simple and sort of and fluid throughout the episode. I suppose let's talk about the Zero Beast. He was a big talking point going into this episode. Obviously, we'd seen him sort of teased previous episode, and we'd seen Omega knew the Zero Beast was there, and we knew that the Zero Beast was going to be a big part of her plan. So obviously they were able to free the Zero Beast, and it did indeed cause absolute carnage, and the Empire just could not deal with the Zero Beast. What were your thoughts on how the Zero Beast looked and sounded, and then also just on how much destruction the Zero Beast did, and how the Empire just could not cope? And the Empire got lucky in the end, where the Zero Beast sort of fought its way out and caused mayhem, but obviously it was trying to find a way out. It wasn't looking for death and destruction. It was just, I need to break out, so I'm going to break out, and I'll fight everything in my way, but once I get out, I'm going off into the jungle, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, the whole Zillo Beast thing, seeing the Zillo Beast back and sort of having a resolution to what had happened, what they'd been trying to do with him or it, was brilliant. And it gave me real King Kong Jurassic Park vibes when it was released. As you say, it went on the rampage. I loved the sequence where it literally, the troopers were there shooting at it, and it just brought its foot down and stomped on the troopers. Again, Jurassic Park, straight away there. So it was really good, and like you say, this was a creature that wasn't going to just destroy for the sake of destroying. It just wanted to destroy to get out, and then once it had its freedom, that was all it wanted. And that was the whole thing almost with, when we first met the Zillo Beast, it was disturbed by, I think it was the mining and everything. And so then, obviously, this creature had nothing but people basically trying to use it and abuse it. So the fact that it was Omega who set it free, obviously for a very valid reason, it was the perfect diversion that she needed. And I think, it was a really good resolution to the story of the Zillo Beast, going all the way back to the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I just thought the way it was animated and the way it was shot and the way just the sound design on the Zero Beast was superb. Top notch animation and sound design from Lucasfilm Animation there. So the next thing I want to talk about is, the Zero Beast was obviously a huge part of this episode. The next big moving part was these CX operatives. So obviously we've seen them on the hunt for Omega throughout the season, and then we see more of them. And like I said, my first thought when I first seen them in this episode was, are these actual carbon copy clones of Clone Squad 99, Clone Force 99? Turns out not, but very similar. And that one with the two blades was causing absolute carnage. So I don't know if you want to talk through your thoughts of the CX operatives we saw and how they were able to sort of pick apart an already severely wounded Bad Batch team here.
Yeah, the CX operatives. I think the last episode I did with you guys, I'd sort of given my theory that wasn't proven, but at the same time, these these operatives were so highly skilled. They certainly weren't stormtroopers, and they were a match for the Bad Batch. Which means that obviously they were thinking out of the box to be able to fight against the Bad Batch. So it was a really interesting sort of whole way of um, sort of seeing these characters again. Obviously, we knew eventually the Bad Batch would win over them, but they were a force to be reckoned with. And at one point, when you see the Bad Batch tied in being tortured, you thought, crikey, these guys are actually up against it. And obviously, you know, it was a big possibility, and I sort of discussed it with different people that it was quite possible that they could have decided to kill off the Bad Batch at the end of this series. So obviously, you did have a real sense of risk when you saw them up against these CX operatives, which is something that sometimes is missing from some of the shows, because obviously we know a lot of where characters end up. And I think with the Bad Batch, because we don't really know where they ended up, there is the little bit of ambiguity that allowed it to really make you feel they were at risk.
Yeah, I think for me, the CX operatives were, obviously they were fresh. They've just come out of whatever healing or storage process they get kept in by Hemlock. So they were fresh. They were fighting on their own turf. So they were in their own danger room sort of thing. So they had the advantage because they were fresh. They had the advantage because they knew the terrain better, and they had the advantage because not only were they fresh, but obviously the Bad Batch, Rekka was in quite a bad way from previous episode, and obviously, of course, it hasn't been the same since he left Cantus. Certainly with that hand. I loved how sort of when the Imperials are sort of talking about the Bad Batch and Clone Force 99, and Hemlock's like, I'm counting on it. They're going to find their way in here, and that's fine because I've got these operatives here, and they're going to bring me Omega. I thought it was, tactical genius by Hemlock and quite chilling. How calm he was about all of that. And then, obviously, the bit where one of the CX operatives, sort of jokingly tells Crosshair he should look after his trigger hand and slices it off. It was quite a quite a powerful moment in the episode. I don't know what your thoughts were when that first happened.
Yeah, this was the whole thing with this episode. There were so many powerful sort of things that I sort of keep going through it. I wanted to rewatch it before today's recording, and sadly didn't get time to. But yeah, Hemlock was such a calculating character that it was. I genuinely felt that these guys were at risk because of him. So any of the scenes that I sort of saw, I was sort of like, what's going to happen here? As I say, I really need to go back and rewatch a lot of it, which is one of the things that I like about the episode, is there's so much in it that I sort of didn't take in at first viewing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one for the whole season. I think to go back and rewatch now it's all done.
Yeah.
I think because there's going to be so many little moments that are going to mean a bit more based on how it was delivered in this finale. Moving on from the six operatives, obviously, was talking about Nala Se. I thought it comes across very well in this episode. For me, I haven't really trusted the community ones since the Clone Wars, and we found out that actually they were the ones who put the chips in their head and they knew about it, because that was never really explained in in the prequel trilogy about how much they knew about the clone chips. But they knew all about it, and they try to cover it all up. Obviously, when it all goes wrong in that sort of Lost Missions episodes of the Clone Wars. But now I say, generally really does care for Omega and really does not want the Empire to use that research. And I thought Nalase was really, really heroic in this episode. What's your thoughts on Nalase and what she did, and also her thoughts on, like, how she encountered Rampart and their end, I suppose.
Yeah, I was really pleased that Rampart didn't get a redemption. Rampart remained the sort of villain of the piece, similar to Hemlock all the way through. And I like as we always say about the poetry of Star Wars, the fact that obviously Hemlock was responsible for the destruction of Kamino and all the Kaminoans. They always trip me up with that one. So it was poetry that the last remaining survivor of Kamino, as far as we know, was the one that finished off Rampart. And it was beautifully done. We knew she had the device. He thought he was victorious. And then obviously, he shot her, but with her dying sort of last act, she took out Hemlock and at the same time destroyed everything that she'd been working on, which, in some ways, when we know what goes on later on in the films and that, it's quite surprising that all of this was lost at this point.
Yeah, I think I'll come to that in a second, but I thought, again, Nalase goes in that room with that device with the grenade or the thermal detonator. And she knows that Hemlock pulls the gun, now that should he shoot her, she's fine because she knows she can still destroy. She won't be able to get out. She knows that, but she'll be able to destroy the research and still deliver on her promise and on her goal, on her task, which was very brave. Rampart, little weasel, glad he got his comeuppance. It's a shame they didn't use the scream again from the previous episode. That would have been funny. But maybe it would have been too funny because it was quite a serious moment. So yeah, I was very happy that Nalase was able to show some bravery on behalf of the other Kaminoans. You've got me tongue tied with that now. And obviously, and get revenge for sort of the mass genocide of Kamino, which is what Rampart oversaw, was also, another deeper meaning there. Obviously, this research all dies, which makes sense for me because we know that, you have to fast forward, 30 years maybe, to when we get to the Mandalorian, where we're going to see, Project Necromancer still ongoing with different people leading it. So I feel if Hemlock had escaped, or if the research had escaped here, then it would have been further along. If that makes sense. So obviously this now shows you that the Emperor's going to have to turn to someone else now to work on something similar. And who's to say that Project Necromancer? We know what the goal is. It's to keep the Emperor alive after he dies. So, but it doesn't mean it has to be done through Nalase type research and through using the clones like that. It could be, I'm assuming that whoever comes in next does it a different way, although similar. So I still think we've got that to look forward to. I think it's how the Emperor forwards the project now, because it sort of has to start again with a new approach and a new lead, which would be very, very interesting. But as we know in The Mandalorian, I think it's Captain Pelion who says that Hux' dad is working on Project Necromancer at that point, which I don't know the exact time frame, but like I said, I think it's about at least 30 years, I think, after this time period, I believe, roundabout. Certainly some decades. What were your thoughts on, so obviously Crosshair had his hand sliced off, his trigger hand, but I took that as sort of well, that hand's been a problem since he's come out with Tantus, because he's that's the hand where he's struggling to use properly. I mean, he missed the shot when he went to fire the tracker on the ship that Omega was on. And we've seen him often it cuts to that hand and it shows him sort of shivering with it. So I thought with the hand being chopped off, that's sort of these CX operatives and Hemlock think they've took Crosshair's greatest weapon away from him, but I was like, I think they've set him free because that hand's now no longer. It's not a problem because it's not there. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
think
So
I,
he's gonna
I
have to learn to shoot with the other hand now. But I think because he doesn't have a choice now, so and then that leads to obviously, when we get to the sort of the big long bridge heading towards the starship that's going to take Hemlock and Omega away. In sort of Crosshair's worried about taking a shot in a very sort of real moment of like him being scared, But I think Hunt is very much, she knows what to do. So present you with a shot and you'll take the shot. But because he's using the other hand, he's not. I don't think he's particularly like. I think that's what allows him to make the shot so well. It's because he's using the other hand now. That weakness has been chopped away. And in the moment when he's talking about it, he doesn't know that yet. But I think after he makes a shot, I think he's very much he'll live the rest of his life being like, yes, I've only got one hand, but like that bad hand that I used to be so perfect with is now no longer an option. So I think he sort of his biggest weakness was taken away when that happened. I don't know what your thoughts were on that moment.
yeah, I think you're dead right there because obviously Crosshair has struggled for quite a while, and he's had like the tremor every time he's gone to shoot, and then like you say, that they thought they by getting rid of his trigger hand that would basically take him out of the equation, and I think, but the thing is, Crosshairs also found all through this season he's found himself more, and I think he's found himself become part of the Bad Batch, which I don't think he felt himself as that part before that. So taking away his one weakness has now given him that extra bit of strength. And as we know with Crosshair, he may have to push a little harder, but all of the Bad Batch, that's part of what they are. They, because they're different, they have to push that a little bit harder, but they get the results. So yeah, I think Hemlock and his cronies ineffectively have done Crosshair a big favour, and also helped in their own demise at the end of it.
Certainly, I think there's another beautiful moment with Crosshair as well, which we haven't spoke about yet. Obviously, when they're going to infiltrate the base, I think Crosshair's very much, I'll go myself and get Omega out because no one leaves that base once you go in. He knows because he's been there, but he also says so he'll sacrifice himself to do that. And he also makes the comment of it's what he deserves. And obviously, so you can see him holding himself accountable for his actions of like staying with the Empire rather than leaving with his brothers. But I think it was a powerful moment because it was sad that he sort of saw himself as that, but also a good moment or a proud moment that take responsibility for his actions and also owning that moment with his brothers. And I think his brothers are very much like, no, we're going there together, and like you're back with us now, and you've took full responsibility, hiding from anything, and we'll do it together, which I thought was really, really powerful. And like I said, a sad moment when he said those lines. I thought, let's just give Crosshair a hug here when he was saying that. Bless him. But yeah, no, really, really powerful stuff. Let's just go to the finale. We have, Hemlock has a gun to Omega's head, and he's sort of locked. He's handcuffed to her. And the Bad Batch are much like, you won't kill her because you need her. And he's like, and you won't kill me because you need her. And obviously she's able to use the clone tactics that they've learned, and tactics that she knows through tech because that's who taught them all to give Crosshair the shot to shoot the binders, and then they take care of once the binders are loose and in Omega and Hemlock are free of each other, they're able to take the shot, and Hemlock goes to his death. I don't know what your thoughts were on this final moment. Again, I've already talked about the shot in itself and how I thought Crosshair just having one good hand now enable that to take care. But obviously, were you shocked to see Hemlock die? And obviously, just how relieved were you to finally see the Bad Batch reunited with Omega?
No, for me, it was the obvious finale. As soon as they got on that bridge, it was like, yeah, Hemlock's not coming off of this bridge. He's not surviving this. And I, I think by that point I had confidence that Crosshair would be able to make the shot. And I knew that Omega would give him the support, because her character had grown so much over the last 3 seasons, and obviously, especially in this season, she was still willing to sacrifice herself, but she knew that she trusted that Crosshair and Hunter were going to save her. And I thought that was brilliant. It was the perfect sort of standoff that we come to expect. Star Wars is good with bridge sequences. You just have to look at Luke and Vader, Han and Kylo Ren, and now we got Hemlock and the Bad Batch. And it was a brilliant sequence. And seeing Omega, you know, put show the confidence that she had in her brothers that they were going to save her. I thought it was a really really good scene, that just played out to give us a satisfactory conclusion to this series.
Definitely. Before we talk about the very end, something I've missed out actually that I do want to talk about is, there's a bit when Dr. Amiri Carr and Echo are sort of trying to track down Omega, and they end up in the vault, but obviously the kids have already escaped. And then Echo was like, she's freed the Zulu Beast on purpose to divide the Empire's forces, so they kind of track her down more effectively. And then Dr. Amiri Carr is very much like, are you sure? And he's like, I'm sure because that's what I would do. And I loved it. Again, it's just how well the Bad Batch all know each other. Do you know what I mean? I think it was a really simple but powerful moment as well. And then also, you see Amiri's reaction. She's very much like, yeah, like you guys really are all together. Like, and it's fantastic to see. So moving on from that, we end up on Pabu. Nice and no more storms, Pabu. I've noticed it's looking a lot. The weather's a lot better now. We're in the good times, I suppose. And like I said, it was good to see Omiri Carr find purpose with Echo and go to help clones. I think, when she was on Tantus, I think she very much thought she was doing good work. And it wasn't until she actually seen the vault and actually what the Empire was doing there, she started to question her own morality in that. And it's good to see her make the right choice and look to help the clones there and sort of repay some of that, which I thought was positive. And could see Echo and Omiri Carr pop up in more rebellion stuff later, I suppose. And it was great to see just the rest of the Bad Batch sitting next to the tree. We had Batcher, we had Hunter, we had Wrecker, and we had Crosshair and Omega just chilling, sort of taking a breath and healing, both mentally and physically, I imagine. And then, I think that's where they stay. Maybe they do a few odd missions here and there, but, it looks like this is going to be them retired almost and very much just healing from the trauma that they've all been through. As I said, we do end up going back to Tantus. What were your thoughts on Tarkin? Very much like, as soon as he gets the conclusion from the Empire that all the research has been destroyed and there's nothing left, and Hemlock's dead, he's very quick to just switch that funding straight to the Death Star.
Yeah, this is one thing that I think, and it sort of showed at the end of this episode that something I'd suspected. I don't think Tarkin is even read in on, I don't think the Emperor has let him know, which, knowing the character of Tarkin and how much he does know, I don't think he knows what Project Necromancer is. And I think that this is because the Emperor knows in reality, because of the way that Tarkin is very much a military man, follows orders, wants to achieve the end goal. He looks at everything practically. I think the idea of the Emperor wanting to live forever or to have, basically a way of returning whenever he's destroyed, I don't think Tarkin would approve of that. And I think that's quite interesting that um, this is where he's at this point. That he, like you say, for him, he doesn't know what necromancer is. It's not part of his military plan. So that funding's going elsewhere and doesn't have to be wasted on this little project that the Emperor had going. And that to me spelt out quite a lot about where Tarkin is at this point in his role within the Empire.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think for me, Tolkien knows that. I mean, I think I agree with you. I don't think he knows about Necromancer, but I think if he did, Project Necromancer is very much it's a selfish. It's not going to help the Empire. It helps the Emperor himself. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Where this Death Star, I think Tarkin knows that if they get the Death Star up and running and fully operational, and it's a planet killer, like it's been advertised as, that way they can then get rid of the Senate, and he knows that, and then that way they can crush the rebellion and not have to answer to senators. And I think he knows that's the best way forward for this Empire. So I think that's why he's finally able to go, right, nope, we're moving the funding, no problem at all. And you can see that he's probably went along with, with Hemlock for a while here, not knowing the full story because he's not been told the full story, but, the Emperor's obviously said, Hemlock needs his funding, I can't tell you why. And you can tell he's probably been quite sick of Hemlock, and then obviously that problem's now been dealt with, and I don't see him shedding any tears over Hemlock or the research, it seems, which was
yeah.
quite cool. I suppose the question for you about that is, we see in Revenge of the Sith, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. I've always thought of that as like a lie that he tells to sort of get Anakin on the hook.
Yeah,
And I don't think that power actually exists, if that makes sense. So, he's chasing that false power to save Padme it's not real. And then I think this tells you, because I think if he didn't know that power, then he wouldn't need to clone himself, because he could just keep himself alive forever. But he's obviously chasing that himself. That lie that he told Anakin to turn Anakin to the dark side. That he's actually chasing that power still now, if that makes sense. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
yeah, no, exactly. And let's face it, Palpatine stroke Sidious is the great manipulator. And that's exactly what the story of Darth Plagueis was. It was the manipulation of Anakin Skywalker. So yeah, I think it was a falsehood that to the point that he hasn't achieved it himself. So he could never teach that in itself. So yeah, no, definitely, it's something that's definitely been spelt out by this series, that Palpatine's or Sidious is desperate to find a way to keep himself going and to be, to all intents, the supreme Sith Lord.
And then I suppose the very end of the episode is when we sort of fast forward years later. We've seen adult Omega creep in to get to a ship that is in a similar sort of secret hangar to where the Sarge Ventress parked her ship, I believe. I first thought, is it a Sarge? And then I thought maybe it was Fee, until sort of we got a closer look at it was actually Omega. And Hunter's there, and he's very much like, you can't sneak with me even though I'm old. But they have a really good conversation, and Omega says she needs to leave to join the rebellion because they need pilots. And Hunter, lets her go. This is her fight to choose, and her generation to choose to do what they want to do. Obviously, it's great to see Hunter looking a bit aged as well. Not just seeing the effects of time on him, but also, again, that trauma that they've all been through as a squad, I suppose, was very much there. But it was great to see him give her good advice and let her be free and make that choice to go. And then I also thought, again, I think I've already briefly mentioned it, but Omega is joining the rebellion because they need pilots, and Tech is the one who taught her to fly. And I just think, again, Tech might be gone, but what Tech did with his life, is having an impact for the good even now, because he taught Omega to fly, and then Omega's going to go and fly for the rebellion and do good things. So I think, again, just powerful, all around nice message, and just showing that Tex is still having an effect in the galaxy even after he's gone. But I suppose just talk us through that ending, Jason, and your thoughts on it, and then we're probably ready to wrap it up, I think.
Yeah, for me, it was a beautifully done sort of ending. Seeing old Hunter and an older Omega, it was, and it made sense that she'd want to go off and fight for the rebellion, which obviously sets it up perfectly for any further adventures of Omega. And potentially we could see the Bad Batch, pop up similarly to the ways that Rex and Echo have throughout different series. So I thought it was a really nice end piece to show us where they'd got to after the events of the 3 seasons. And it was just nice to see her fly off, grown up on her own to find her own way in the world or galaxy, so to speak. And obviously, the one thing I did think I would have liked to have seen her say farewell to Wrecker, but that's just because, personally, Wrecker's probably one of my favourite characters. And it was sad that we didn't get to see one last, goodbye from him. But no, I think it was beautifully done, and it's set the tone for the possibility of more stuff from these characters, but it also set the tone of this is the end of this story that we've been telling.
Yeah, and very much, as the clones generation comes to an end, Omega's young, now she's a young adult, and this is her fight and her generation's battle. And I think that was exciting to see. I also like how I saw like an older, bigger Batcher was quite cool as well in the animated. I don't know if you picked up on Batcher being a bit bigger.
Yeah, definitely. He looked a bit chunkier and a little bit more scary.
He did indeed. Is there any other talking points that you want to discuss about the episode that we haven't covered?
No, I think I managed to get most of the ones I thought about there.
And so, where do you think we go next? I suppose they've obviously done a full character model for an adult Omega. So, do you think the future of Lucasfilm animation could be Omega in the Rebellion?
I'm torn. There's so many different ways it could go. I'm looking forward to an announcement as to what we're getting, because I think that should be coming soon. I'm pretty sure, there's going to be a new animated series, and it's going to tell some sort of story involving characters from the series that we've had. So Clone Wars, Rebels. Obviously, Rebels, I don't think so much because that's already being told in live action now. So there's so many different ways it could go. We could see now how Rex, Omega, and Echo become involved with the formation of the rebellion. That would be one possibility to go to that I think would be quite an interesting one. I also think there's something got to be happening with Asajj Ventress, because you don't just bring a character back like that and not fully tell the story. So something's going on there. It wouldn't surprise me if that shows up in animated.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. I think the future's bright for Lucasfilm animation. I think when, obviously Tales of the Empire, which is the second season of Tales of the Jedi, has just debuted. Obviously, we've watched that and we'll be talking about that later. But it's obviously it's wonderful. It's wonderful Star Wars storytelling, and Lucasfilm animation is on fire, as in creating awesome work. And I think still quite a young animation company, and I think the future is quite bright. And I think we're only scratched the surface on what we can get from Lucasfilm animation, which is really, really cool. Moving on from that, obviously, as we record this, as I said, it is May the 5th, which is Revenge of the 5th. Is like a Star Wars weekend. May the 4th was yesterday. as well as Ian Slater's birthday. Again, happy birthday, Ian. Yesterday, I was able to. It was obviously free comic book day as well yesterday. So I was able to get myself up into Newcastle. I did manage to get some free comics. I think all the Star Wars ones had already gone though, and to everyone's surprise, I think Nubs is on one of the covers, so I'm not surprised. The Nubs Nation coming out and getting the Nubs comics there, pretty cool. I did pick up some Star Wars comics, so I'll be sharing those on our TikTok and with our social media for you to have a look at. I did see The Phantom Menace on Friday night as well, on the 3rd of May, in the big screen. Just awesome to see The Phantom Menace on the big screen again. Awesome to see a film written and directed by George Lucas on the big screen again. And obviously we did get a sneak peek of The Acolyte, which was essentially, it was like a full clip from the movie, the full sequence, and then a trailer. And obviously then they've dropped a new trailer as well online since. So we are feasting Star Wars a lot this weekend. I don't know if you've had your eye on any of the merchandise that's on offer for May the 4th, Jason?
Yep, I'd actually forgotten that I'd bought something. I did treat myself to the 25 years of Lego Star Wars keyring that was up for sale. I think it went up last weekend and it's sold out everywhere really quickly. Argos had it for a fiver, or certain products you got it as a free gift. But they were only allowing one purchase per person. So I did manage to nab that, and it's a really, really cool Lego R2 projecting a Lego block. So I was really pleased to get that actually.
Good. I think I haven't really had a chance to get much. I think I really wanted the Hoth Starbucks the Occasion Series mug, which I put in my basket on Disney Store .com, but I also wanted the TC-14 Droid Factory droid, but I couldn't actually see that on the website, so I think it's probably sold out now. The cup's sold out, and there's also a Phantom Menace hoodie, which was awesome, but my size wasn't available, and then now that has sold out as well. So disappointed to have missed out, but also the bank balance is probably feeling a little bit more healthier, which is positive. Like I said, I did buy some Star Wars comics over the weekend on a free comic book day, so I have purchased some Star Wars. And then last night I was at Slice Wars, which was at Wyland Brewery here in Newcastle. Essentially, it was a Wyland Brewery is a really cool sort of brewery slash pub slash venue space, right in the middle of a big park in the middle of Newcastle city centre. Essentially, they had the best pizza vendors from around the northeast of England were all there, and you could just sample, go around, get a slice of pizza from all these different vendors, while people were in costume as sort of Star Wars characters. There was people there. There's Imperial Stormtroopers, bounty hunters there running around. It was quite cool. And a nice little Star Wars theme going on, which was awesome to see. And the place was packed, not necessarily full of Star Wars fans, but there was a lot of people there enjoying it, and a lot of the pizzas were named after sort of Star Wars puns and stuff, which was really cool. So yeah, it was really awesome to see that, which is fantastic. And I think from what I've seen online and in person around town, there's a lot of Star Wars t-shirts, a lot of people talking about Star Wars, a lot of people talking about Star Wars online, and just although this is a pop culture holiday, I suppose you could say May the 4th is, but it's just so positive now to see everybody talking nicely about Star Wars and really enjoying it, which I think is just a joy to see. So I think, although it's usually designed to take a lot of money off you with all the merch that they release, but it's a lot of fun and it's full of positivity. So I think it's a really important time. Anything else you want to cover, Jason, before we wrap things up?
No, I think obviously at the moment, as I alluded to the last time I was on here, very busy at the moment, planning for the event in August down in Dorchester. We were hoping to make some announcements this weekend, but time and restrictions haven't allowed that. But hopefully in the next coming weeks, Ben, Pete and myself will be getting together to have a good chat and to explain exactly what you can expect if you make your way to Dorchester in August. There's still a lot of plotting and planning going on. but we're very confident that we're going to get some very fun things, um, and there will be lightsabers flying around.
Can we tell people the date?
Yeah, it's 3rd and 4th of August. So it's a nice weekend during the summer. And as I think I said before, the venue's perfect because it's a nice open area with lots of room to put on Star Wars goodness.
Can we tell people the venue?
Yep, it's Brewery Square, Dorchester. Um, and there's as well as obviously Jedi Archives, there's lots of eateries, the Odeon Cinema. So it's, and we're going to be putting on lots of different things throughout the day. The one thing that we want people to start thinking about now is, we've invited, and I'm still inviting different groups. So UKG, Mando Mercs, Rebel Legion, Saber Guild, Droid Builders. All of the invites have gone out to those guys. So I'd like to take this opportunity to, put the case to them. Please support this event. We're putting it on because we want to promote the work that these guys do. So we want to get them there so that people can see exactly what these guys do. And that's going to be the idea of, we're going to have the podcast stage set up where we'll be recording episodes or slots for Star Wars live on the day, to obviously go out in the future. And I've already sorted a nice little setup for recording and for people to come along and just see the interviews. But also, we're going to be, we want not only the groups to turn up in costume, we want everyone to get involved. So if you want a day out and you might be thinking, I fancy getting a Star Wars costume, put together, or you already have a Star Wars costume, turn up on one of those 2 days. And there will be costuming competitions with prizes available. And, the idea is then that everyone can get involved, show off what they do. The other thing that I want to put a shout out to is, if there's anyone that's crafting or does crafting involved with Star Wars, that may want to come and show some of their stuff. I've already started inviting some people that I know of, but if you want to, then please drop a message to myself, and I'll actually give out my email address to send stuff to. So if you're a Star Wars merchandise guy, something, we want unique things, not the sort of thing that you're gonna and people make. That's what we're really looking for. So if you think you fit that criteria, please get in touch with myself, and we can see what we can get sorted for you.
So we know
Uh,
when it is, we know where it is, and is that a nice low price of free?
yes, it is. It is. This is it's going to be the main thing we want you to dig deep in your pockets for. Is there will be stuff. There's going to be raffles and different things. And it is being done to support the MS Society. So it's a really good cause. I know more and more people that suffer with MS, which is a debilitating, illness or condition. And we want this event to raise some funds to go towards helping those people. And the MS Society, they give families of MS sufferers a lot of support. I've seen it personally through my own family member. So it's a really worthy event. So although the event is free, there will be stuff to purchase, and there will be raffles, and there's going to be. I'm plotting a few fun games for the kids to get involved with, so it's very much going to be a family event, and that is the thing. We want you to come along and enjoy it. And we want this to be about people celebrating the fun of Star Wars, but also the community that is available.
Definitely, it sounds like a wonderful time. Obviously, more information coming about the ins and outs, but it already sounds like quite an exciting Star Wars event for anybody who loves Star Wars to get themselves to. Before we wrap it up, Jason, where can the people find you on social media?
Right, it's at Hondo Ling as per usual. But those wishing to contact me with regards to the event, if you could email jasonling1980 at hotmail.co.uk with a brief description of what involvement you can bring to the event, and then I can get back to you as quickly as possible.
And you can follow myself on social media. I am on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram at Geordie Jedi Pete. You can follow the podcast on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Boz Star. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Star Wars Podcast. If you are listening on Apple or on Spotify, please consider leaving us a top review. Nice little 5-star review, nice little sentence about the podcast. Obviously keeps me and Jason smiling for a whole day. Only takes you a few moments, and it does help people find the podcast. If you are listening on one of the other many wonderful podcast apps out there, again, if it has a feature to leave a review, just leave us a top review. Again, only takes you a few moments, but it keeps us smiling, and it also does indeed allow people to find the show, which is fantastic. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed the show. I hope they've all enjoyed the Bad Batch. I hope they've all enjoyed the Acolyte sneak peek. I hope they've all enjoyed the Phantom Menace. That's back in cinemas. I hope they've enjoyed Tales of the Empire, which is just released. We are truly feasting on Star Wars. I hope you've all had a great Star Wars weekend. Happy May the 4th to everyone. Happy Revenge of the 5th to everyone. Just happy Star Wars times. And always remember, tell that to Kanja Club.
The Dorky Diva Show presents
Why is this seat so much more comfortable?
the long-awaited sequel to the adventures of the Zolan Dart audio drama.
Have you seen the captain's datapad?
Trying to work, Murph.
Piloting the Zolan Dart by himself,
You do understand the details of this particular job, correct?
I've been on plenty of jobs like this. With you!
Reldar Sias returns to a planet he thought he'd left behind for good.
Is there a reason you didn't mention I was tagging along?
Hopefully having you there will make others think twice about messing with me.
Making new friends
Oh, you must be the pilot of the Zolan Dart, yes?
I guess I am.
and reconnecting with old ones,
Reldar?
Vera?
What are you doing here?
until past grudges resurface.
I'd be minding my own business if I were you.
Well, if your business wasn't being handled right in front of my face, maybe I could mind my own business. We have to leave. Now.
Why the rush all of a sudden?
We're in trouble.
If it isn't little Reldar Sias.
Hey, Yorick. Long time no see.
Roz already knows you're here.
Oh,
Look who decided to come home.
Reldar must confront his origin,
I must admit, I never saw this as being a part of your past, Softshell.
or let it define his future.
I will get what is owed to me, no matter the cost.
because what Roz is trying to do is wrong.
Says you.
My blasters, we're going to need these. Take that, Sleemo!
Who do you think you are?
The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, Episode 2, coming soon.